Welcome to our SORRIR Demonstrator videos. We are now at scenario 5.1, and I would like to introduce the attack side of SORRIR with intrusion detection. The general setup would be that an attacker wants to enter the parking garage, let's say, without paying. So what the attacker would do is to get access to the smart entrance console component. And as we have learned in scenario 4, we have cryptographic keys and we have encryption. So we need some cryptographic keys in order to send valid commands to other components. And since the attacker would have access to the smart entrance console, they would have access to all cryptographic keys. And with this knowledge, they could impersonate this SEC component from another machine. So the attacker can send valid commands to other components. And in this certain scenario, this attacker would send the open command to the barrier module. And without SORRIR, this attack would perform the following, in that this command would be sent from the impersonated SEC component and would get accepted by the barrier module. Since this impersonated SEC component would, of course, have all valid keys, and as a consequence, the barrier module would open the barrier. And the effect this attack would have is that the attacker could manipulate the system without anybody noticing. With SORRIR, we would introduce our intrusion detection system. And with that, this attack would perform exactly the same. So this command gets sent from the impersonated SEC to the barrier module, which would accept this command and would open the barrier. So the attacker could manipulate the system. But in this case, the intrusion detection system would recognize this attack and would raise an alert. With this knowledge, further measures could be taken. Now let's look at the other side of intrusion detection, in concrete honeypots. And with those honeypots, the scenario would be that an attacker tries to access any SORRIR component. And if the attacker would find any weakness in the deployment, it would try to attack this weakness. But what the attacker doesn't know is that he would connect to the honeypot instead of the real production deployment. So the honeypot gives the impression to the attacker that he has full control over the system. With SORRIR, the honeypot is then recording all actions which are taken by the attacker. And as a benefit of that, the SORRIR operators can then learn and implement protection measures against the attacks which are performed by the attacker, since they now know how the attacker would behave on their production system. And also, the attacker would waste time by attacking a simulated system which is not in production use, and at the same time, the attacker does not attack the production system. Okay, and now we see our intrusion detection system in action. So as you can see, we have here a picture of our deployment, and the barrier module is already highlighted. And as you can see, the state is closed currently. Now we are executing our attack from the impersonated smart entrance controller and send an open command to the barrier, which is done in the terminal. And as you can see, the barrier module just changed its state from closed to open, so the barrier is open. And it is important to note that no system recorded this intrusion, and without SORRIR, this attack would go unnoticed. But luckily, we have SORRIR installed, and we have our intrusion detection system in place. And I quickly want to show you our intrusion detection system in action in the terminal. This just takes a moment. And here we can see we have detected the intrusion, and now we can take further measures.